604 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, off and running. Brian here with you, John LaBeouf producing, getting you ready for your Monday show. Starting off at 62 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge. We got a lot of ground to cover today. We're entering the fifth week of the legislative session, pretty much the halfway point. Boy, if you look at the calendar or the legislative calendar, they're about to get down to it. I tell you what, let's get down to it as well. Let me give you the rundown real quick. There's a very, very cool new project coming to Ascension Parish, Geismar to be exact. We're going to talk with Gregg, Thompson, and Trey Williams about a little place called Magnolia Ridge coming up at 6:35. We'll have our Medical Monday segment talking women's health today. We'll talk with Will Green from LABI. Definitely going to dive into the legislative session there. We've got Dr. Michael Pasquier coming on from LSU. He joined us right after Pope Francis passed to talk about what to expect from Conclave. We weren't able to connect on Friday about Pope Leo, so with another weekend to digest and learn about the new Pope, we'll talk with Dr. Michael Pasquier at 8:05. I'll talk about everything under the sun with Moon at 8:15, and we're going to wrap up our guest list with Walt Leger from New Orleans and Company, talking about partnering together when it comes to tourism between New Orleans and Baton Rouge and how the whole can be greater than the sum of the parts. But before we get to anything, let's start off with top stories and trending. Boop, 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 boop.
Number 5.
A second arrest has been made after one person was shot and killed at the Doyle High School baseball park off McLean Road Friday night. Officials say 23-year-old Evan Lynch was shot in the chest at the Doyle High School baseball park. Shortly after Lynch was shot, authorities say they received an emergency call from a vehicle in which Lynch was a passenger. So Brandon Swallow was originally arrested. After that arrest, the Livingston Police Department obtained an arrest warrant for the second suspect, 23-year-old Caleb Rowley of Denham Springs, after they determined the crime appeared to be premeditated and that Swallow did not act alone.
Number 4.
East Baton Rouge commercial real estate market continued its upward trend in April with an increase in sales volume for the second straight month. This according to Elephant Realty. They put out the data every month. Sales rose by 4.17% last month. Year-to-date sales volume reached $155 million through April, outpacing the $118 million through the first 4 months of 2024.
Number 3.
4 people were injured yesterday when a car flipped on I-10 westbound near College Drive. 3 of them had to be taken to the hospital. 2 lanes of I-10 had to be closed while DOTD tended to the accident.
Number 2.
May Street, which runs across University Lake, will be closed to all traffic starting on June 4th, and it's not expected to reopen until the middle of 2026. The closure is a necessary part of the University Lake's restoration project. It will cause some unavoidable headaches until it is completed.
Number 1.
Work on the budget is about to get underway at the Capitol. HB 1 is slated to be heard in the House Appropriations Committee this morning. Author of the bill, Representative Jack McFarland, is slated to join us tomorrow morning at 8:15 with an update on the 185-page budget. What's trending, John?
Well, the White House said on Sunday that it reached a trade deal with China as the two countries negotiated for a second day in Switzerland.
So it's kind of more of a pause than a long-term. It's a 90-day pause, right?
Yep.
But did you see the numbers?
Let's see.
It's any goods coming from the United States into China will have a 10% tariff. Any goods coming from China into the United States, 30%. So we have the balance is in our favor on that end.
Oh, yeah.
But
for sure.
The fact that it's only 90 days,
A lot can happen.
is it going to hit the back burner and then we're going to forget about it and then it's going to pop back up on us? Or is that just the legislature that does it? The Congress that does that?
But, there is a chance of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a chance that
there's also a chance
gloss over it.
There's also a chance that we see remarkable response from the markets, which we're already seeing.
There's that.
And then we'll see remarkable response from consumers. And then they're going to say, hey, this kind of works. Do we really want to tinker with it more?
There we go.
Yeah, I'd be there. That'd be great.
Yes, indeed it would. Hey,
Hop on Temu now.
Yeah, exactly. Get it. Hey, we learned a lot more over the weekend about the lineage of Pope Leo the 14th, including his family's history in New Orleans.
So we dove into that a little bit on Friday, but we didn't have a whole lot of details. So his grandparents on his mother's side lived in the 7th Ward.
Yeah.
And then come to find out the house that they lived in was torn down to build out. I don't want to say it was the interstate. That doesn't sound right. It might have been the interstate. But anyway, they were in the St. Roch neighborhood in the 7th Ward.
Wow.
And apparently, like, this guy, he's got all kinds of Louisiana ties.
Yeah,
so
the more I kind of did
there was
some research and finding out, like, oh yeah,
something on his
grandparents,
father's side as
great-grandparents.
well. So,
Yeah.
I mean, just all up in Louisiana. So we've basically claimed him as our own pope.
There we go.
That's what we do. We claim people as our own.
It's enough. Hey.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of our own, Addis's own John Foster continues to move forward on American Idol. He is now in the top 5.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go. I did not watch last night. I read the story afterwards. They did a Disney thing.
Apparently it was a Disney thing. Yeah.
So he went with the Princess and the Frog because, it's Louisiana.
Because
it's New
why
Orleans.
not?
Right. I know. He sang Almost There.
Yep.
Which is probably going to be in my head for the rest of the week now.
Right.
He also, what was the other song he did?
As far as what, last night?
Yeah. Yeah, there were 2 songs. The other one was the Mother's Day tribute. I'm not remembering it now.
Oh man.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know it either. We'll have it for next hour then.
Okay.
When we report on this. Just because I didn't want to go digging in real time.
Sure. No. That's the right call. So top 5, which now is when it starts to get real.
Yeah.
It starts to get really, really real. And I've been saying all along, there's no way on God's green earth that you have 2 American Idols this close together chronologically and geographically.
Right.
I mean, you don't have Lane Hardy and then turn around and have a guy from half an hour to the west of Lane Hardy. And half an hour is with traffic.
Yeah.
The
possibility's there though.
The possibility's growing.
But yeah,
he's got a 20% chance right now.
Yeah.
1 in 5 chance right now.
Yes. Very impressive. Very impressive. So shout out to John Foster, man. Congratulations. And man, Louisiana, huh?
I know.
I
know. So
there.
John Foster, of course, from Addis.
Yep.
Addis, of course, right next to Bruley. Bruley, of course, where you'll find the latest branch of Landmark Bank. Check them out at landmarkbankla.com. Landmarkbankla.com. Like Lane Hardy's from Denham. They got a Landmark Bank in Denham. Then you got Bruley. Then you got Zachary, Clinton, all the surrounding areas. And that's by design. That is because Landmark Bank is a community bank. You don't just want a bank when it comes to your hopes, dreams, and desires, when it comes to what you're saving for, what you're borrowing for. You want a banker as well. Shaking hands with somebody you have a relationship with. And that's not just for your personal banking. That's for business banking as well. They've been doing this since 1897. Check them out online. LandmarkBankLA.com. LandmarkBankLA.com. Quick break. When we come back, LSU baseball did what they needed to do in order to stay in the driver's seat for a national seed. We'll talk about that. LSU softball got their announcement as well. We'll cover both of those next.
Believe was the second song he did. Brooks and Dunn. Nice. I didn't see that one.
Morning, Matt. Oh, I didn't print my stuff for Walt Leger. Do you have the interview for 6:35? It's recorded. It will run long.
Gregg Thompson.
Gregg and Trey.
I was looking today. I didn't see anything in it.
Is it just in the
It
main
might have-
folder?
It might be in the it might be in a different folder. Was that done in May?
Yeah, I recorded it last Thursday, I think.
I don't see it.
I'll find it.
Yeah, I was gonna say we got time. I can hurry up then.
.616 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. LSU baseball. I don't want to say needed to get 2 out of 3 against Arkansas over the weekend, but if they wanted to be in the right spot, 2 out of 3 was advised, let's just say. That way you can go into South Carolina, you can go into the final series of the weekend, playing with a little bit of house money. And I say playing with house money because you still need another 2 out of 3. But South Carolina is not nearly the caliber team of Arkansas. So what you're doing there is you're setting yourself up for success on the back end by winning on the front end. And 2 out of 3 was what they got. Arkansas came into the box as number 3 in the country overall. Friday night was, well, it was another Friday night rain delay game. It was another late game. It was another into the wee hours of the morning before they walked it off in the bottom of the 10th. And then you move to Saturday. So 5-4, your final score on Friday. Then you move to Saturday and you actually run ruled Arkansas on what might not be the most usual play around to run rule somebody.
Dickinson down at second base. Payoff delivery to Milam. Swing and a miss. The ball gets away from Helfrich. He'll have to chase it down near the dugout and can't make a throw. However, Dickinson going to be caught up between third and home. The throw got away. Now the plate, throw to the plate. Safe sliding head first is Dickinson, and the Tigers going to walk it off again here in the bottom of the 7th inning. Tigers win. Dickinson came around third after the pitch got away from Helfrich. He couldn't throw to first to get Milam. He looked back at third, threw it down to Robinette. The throw got away, and Robinette diving to come up with it. Then the throw back home, not in time, and LSU again with a play at the plate, walks it off here in the bottom of the 7th inning by a final of 13-3 with a run rule victory over the Arkansas Razorbacks.
That would give them the series win, meaning you were playing with house money going into Sunday. Sunday they do lose 7-4, although it was the battle. It was like one bad inning was what LSU had in the Sunday game. So they will now head to this coming weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday set for the Tigers. They will be at South Carolina. That, yes, means taking on former coach Paul Maneri. But the Gamecocks are just they're not great. It's they don't have a whole lot to play for. And LSU does when you're talking about securing a national seed. Meanwhile, moving from baseball to softball, Beth Torina's Tigers did not get a national seed, but however did get a 10 seed, which means they will host a regional, but not a super regional. LSU will play host to Southeastern on Friday at roughly 4 p.m. We're going to join coverage at roughly 4:15 p.m. That is dependent upon the ending of the game before LSU. So there will be a LSU's the 1, Southeastern's the 4, but that's the second game of the day. So it's dependent upon the length of the first game and also dependent upon the weather, as things can always run afoul. As it stands right now, there is no chance of rain on Friday. I mean, like none. Well, 5% chance of rain on Friday. So I think we're going to be good weather-wise. Should be an overall great weekend in Tiger Park. You'll hear LSU softball right here on Talk 107.3. It's 6:20. Here's the Fox Business Report. I know the damn thing's there. That's the name of the project is Magnolia Ridge. A walk-off strikeout. Exciting. I know. That's why I wanted to play the whole thing. It's because that's not your usual walk-off. Friday night or early Saturday morning, it was a sac fly. Got good news Friday. I'll share with the Facebook crew right now. Get ready for more beef. Shout out to David St. Romain for filling in the last hour of the show on Friday. I had to go to the a meeting of the Louisiana Beef Industry Council.
Okay.
To repitch Foodie Friday from Memorial Day through Labor Day.
Nice.
And this is a matter of public record. Their sponsorship is because it's a public meeting.
Yeah.
Their sponsorship is a matter of public record. They voted unanimously in favor of continuing. So I believe this is the fourth year now.
Yeah.
I believe this is 21, 22, 23. No, wait. Oh, traffic's me this time. Hang on now. I apologize. That's on me. We've got your normal volume on I-12 westbound coming in from Livingston Parish. It's going to be intermittent to say, if I really want to give it the right description there. Backups around Denham, backups around the Amite River, backups around Airline, and I don't want to say backups. It's just heavier congestion than normal. So on I-12 westbound, that's what you're looking at. 10 westbound coming in from Ascension Parish. Things are good to go over there. 10 eastbound coming in from West Baton Rouge Parish. We look really, really good, as does I-110. Both bridges are wide open as well. Now, surface streets. I'm showing an accident from over an hour ago. It was a crash Plank Road at Robeek or Blunt that was being worked by the sheriff's office. Odds are that is either in the clearing stages now or long since gone, but it is still on the board. So that is why I'm reporting it. It was last update was 5:08. So probably won't be a problem for your morning drive, but it is something to look out for in case it's there. That's really good traffic from the Shawbills Tire Traffic Center. $6:24. Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. So you head into the weekend last weekend with the announcement of Pope Leo. I mean, it's kind of a big deal. You're seeing enthusiasm from Catholics all over. Oh, by the way, just a side note here. If you're a Catholic, to feel that enthusiasm about the announcement of the new Pope, to see that regeneration of excitement within Catholicism, I mean, it's natural when you have a new guy named to the post, right? But I feel like there's a level of excitement with this new Pope that we didn't have with Francis or Benedict, for that matter. So you get the excitement of the new Pope, and then you go into Mass on Sunday, and basically all three readings were about evangelization. I mean, could not have been more well-timed. Could not have been more well-timed to take that fire that comes along with, we got a new guy at the helm right now. Latin Mass might be back in play, and then you go into church on Sunday, and it's all about evangelization. So maybe take that fire and turn it into a little mobility as well. Gotta love that. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. That's what we were going with heading into the weekend, was the new Pope. I was mapping out where the show was going to go. On Friday, I was mapping out where the show would go today. Obviously, legislative battles are going to rule the day, right? You've got Jack McFarland, who wrote the budget, going to be on with us tomorrow. The budget's being discussed in appropriations today. It is 185 pages. Whoa. What's it going to look like on the back end? Well, we'll get a pretty good glimpse of that tomorrow at 8:15. That was one thing that's going to be on the docket for today. Also, is the battles over in Jude A, Judicial Committee A on the Senate side. I believe they get underway tomorrow. And in fact, I've got the stack over here of everything they will be discussing over in Jude A. And it is, as of now, 2 full pages worth of bills that are going to make their way through this committee. Everything we talk about insurance-wise is going to have its day, or its hearing, I should say, over Judicial Committee A. And traditionally, that's where good bills go to die. We'll talk with Will Green about this at 7:35. But then you get into the weekend, and you have news just completely come out of left field. Like, I don't know, the Saints rookie minicamp getting underway, and getting underway with the announcement that Derek Carr is retiring. Turns out his right shoulder doesn't look like it's going to be on the path to where he wants it to be. Carr said surgery is an option. It would not have guaranteed him the ability to perform at his prior level. So he just went up and retired. Coach Kellen Moore says Carr absolutely will be missed.
You respect and appreciate so much that Derek's done in this league, and for the way he's done it, the on-the-field performance, the off-the-field person that he's showcased, and the impact he's had on so many people in this profession is really, really special.
I was completely in Carr's corner up until the whole Las Vegas church thing, when he decided to take to the stage of a church in order to complain about how everything else is everyone else's fault. But when you look back on the 2 years that Derek Carr spent in New Orleans, number one, it was injury riddled in the second year, to be sure. But those first 2 games of last season were a glimpse of what could have been. Then you start losing offensive linemen. And then you realize he has no receivers to throw to. He's throwing to household names like Rashid Shaheed. He was literally throwing to a wide receiver named Bub. Kellen Moore says Derek Carr and his family have been very thorough in keeping the team updated on his condition throughout, and the team will be with him as he navigates the next chapter of his life.
We're all there for Derek in any way we can possibly help as he goes through this process, but he's been phenomenal through this thing. I think this whole organization thinks the world of him, feels great. Whatever his next step is, it'll be an incredible experience.
And it's not going to be in New Orleans. He hasn't been here long enough to plant any kind of real roots. At least I don't think so. I mean, it's a 2-year stint that was riddled with fans hating him when he was one part of an overall equation. You had a coach that needed to be fired. You had an offensive line that was makeshift at best. You have no big name receivers, and yet everything was the quarterback's fault. And by the way, it really showed when Carr was injured, the Saints went over. So what's left in the quarterback room? Well, you just had the recent draftee and Tyler Shuck. That's for sure. You've also got Jake Hayner and Spencer Rattler, 26 and 24-year-olds respectively. Moore says that Carr's injury and subsequent retirement had basically no impact on the team's decision to draft a quarterback in the second round.
Certainly, as we went through the draft process, we certainly felt like adding a quarterback to that room would have been very valuable under all circumstances. And certainly as Derek's injury became something, obviously there's a little bit more awareness to it.
Well, yeah, and the injury is one small part of the overall equation there. You had to plan for the future. You had one more year with Carr under contract before things were going to really clear themselves up salary cap wise to where you can make some real moves. And that was kind of, I don't want to say a prove it year for him if he hadn't been injured, but the injury made things a heck of a lot easier to navigate. We're at 6:30 at Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. We're coming up on our break. When we come back, there's a new project coming to Ascension Parish. It's called Magnolia Ridge. We'll dive in next. Who? He moved to Israel to serve in the military. Oh, holy hell. Today's the 12th. Tomorrow's the 13th. That would make Thursday the 15th, right? Okay. I just can't get a break in my schedule, man. I got to be at Tourism Day at the Capitol on Thursday. I don't have to be. I want to be. Damn it. Was not expecting them to cover a sports story. Well, I didn't think they were going to cover this in the 6:30 news. That's why I did it at 6:25. Normally, they don't include sports stories in their newscast, so whatever. See, that's his calendar. I want the notes on the segment. I need help, Captain. I don't care. All right, I need to go grab some notes off the printer upstairs, guys. The next interview is recorded, so I'm stepping away right after I introduce weather. Find it at your local newsstand. Yeah.
That's what we have, bro.
Yeah.
Local newsstand,
Does
right?
that tell you who's working from an outdated model?
Let's go to the newsstand. Get it. Get that Tiger Rag magazine.
Available on newsstands. They said it twice. They're really pushing the idea of like this is extra. All right, 6:37 to talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Just as a quick tease, our next segment is pre-recorded. I got to speak with Trey Williams and Gregg Thompson about a project coming to Ascension Parish called Magnolia Ridge. This is just further economic development, but I do like to let you know when we're not here live. So on the back end of weather, that's what you're going to hear. Right now, here's your forecast from Emma Kate Cowan. All right, I'm stepping aside, guys. I'll be right back. Last week, ground was broken on a light to medium industrial logistics park out in Ascension Parish. It's called Magnolia Ridge, and man, it's just another offshoot of the economic development that is to come. Want to welcome Gregg Thompson and Trey Williams into the studio. How y'all fellas doing this morning?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having us.
No, glad to have you on here. Gregg, welcome aboard, man.
Thank you.
Let's dive right in. I want to get into what the park actually is, but I want to go back to the genesis of what brought it about. What made y'all want to make this investment? What made y'all want to provide this service, this need in the area?
So this is part of the investment strategy that Ratcliffe Development has. We look for opportunities where there are unmet demand that we know exists in certain areas, that we can create business park developments. And in those business parks, we will sell property, we will build buildings on spec, we'll do build to suits. Bottom line, we recognized years ago that there was a large potential in Ascension Parish, and it just took us some time to find the right piece of property and the right partner to help it come to fruition.
And we've seen a lot of announcements in Ascension Parish. I mean, a lot of announcements on the west side recently, to be sure. But man, Ascension is just it's every time you turn around, there's something new.
That's correct. Yep, the demographic data supports it, and what we're seeing now is proof that the demographic data is where you really need to focus your attention early on.
Trey, what brought y'all in?
Yeah. So we're a local capital group here in Baton Rouge. Gregg is a long-time friend of mine. As a matter of fact, I was a commercial realtor, and he was my very first project back in the 2008 or something like that.
Many moons ago.
Yeah, so I've known Gregg for a very, very long time. They were looking for a local partner, so they're based out of Alexandria, Ratcliffe Developments and Ratcliffe Construction, and they were looking for a local partner. And so we've done a lot of local projects here in Baton Rouge. We've developed relationships with a lot of local investors, and I think that's what they wanted to see. They wanted to have a local presence and have a local commitment to the project. And so we came together earlier last year. Ratcliffe's been working on this project for almost 3 years.
3 years.
Wow.
We came in beginning of last year and partnered with them. We helped raise the equity and helped with some of the local logistics. Look, we put together 52. I mean, I say semi-local investors. The vast majority of our investors are from East Baton Rouge Parish.
Okay.
And so that's something that's unique to see that many people coming together to invest in a local project. That's pretty unique.
Let's talk about the project itself. Light to medium industrial logistics park. What does that mean? What is who are we looking to recruit here?
So the user profile is anyone that would need an office warehouse component. So if you've got a business where you've got an office component, you've got a distribution component, or you've got some type of group that you need to have a central location, but you radiate out to work in the plant environment. You need a secure fence yard for your equipment, your vehicles, that type of user profile. The second user profile is medium to light industrial manufacturing.
Okay.
Which there is a tremendous amount of growth in Ascension Parish. And we wanted to provide an opportunity to support businesses that need a place that they can locate. And the third user profile is bulk distribution space along the I-10 corridor. And we're starting to see a lot more of that in projects that we're doing, not just in Baton Rouge, but in Ascension Parish, as well as the greater I-10 corridor.
Trey, I want to move back over to you real quick, because the Highway 30 in Geismar, that's where this is at. How much of the want to invest and the demand for the project is based off today versus based off the future? Because while it's super hot in Ascension right now, once we get that new bridge, once Highway 30 is 4-lane the whole way through, this is really going to escalate.
Yeah, I know 100%. And look, a lot of these projects that have been announced in the last 12 months, I mean, these were announced after we raised the equity for this project. And I mean, after that it was put together.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that people definitely saw the future. They definitely saw the demand coming down the pipeline, because at the end of the day, people don't realize, even people in Baton Rouge don't realize, most people have never gone and driven down River Road, and they've never seen what's there. They've never seen what's in Ascension Parish along the river. And then not just in Ascension Parish, but St. James Parish and East Baton Rouge Parish and West Baton Rouge. I mean, it is an insane amount of development that I think a lot of people in Baton Rouge don't even realize how much is there.
So I'll plead ignorance. I can get to and from Roberto's, and that's about it.
Fair enough. And look, Roberto's is a wonderful restaurant, but if you take a left instead of a right, you would be blown away by how much investment that we have along the river in Ascension Parish.
All right, let's bring it back into Magnolia Ridge itself. Are we looking at, I apologize if I'm using the wrong terminology, are we looking for tenants? Are we looking for clients, partners? What are we looking for here?
All of the above.
Okay.
Our business model is to create developable lots that we can sell to an owner operator. We will do speculative development that we can lease to someone who just wants to be a tenant.
Yeah.
And it takes both to make a project of this size work.
Ground was broken last week. Timelines on what's in the works right now, and how much y'all have to kind of, you talk about doing on spec and whatnot, how much y'all have to wait on future clientele in order to make sure you're meeting their needs?
So these project timelines are long.
Yeah.
Nothing happens quickly. Design, permitting, approval, getting planning commission approval, these things just take more and more and more time as engineering requirements get greater. Where we are at this point is what we call the horizontal infrastructure development cycle. So we've got to put in the streets, we've got to put in the water, we've got to put in the sewer. We anticipate that to take as long as October of this year, at which time we will go back to the parish for what we call final plat approval, which is what gives us the legal authority to be able to sell individual lots.
Mm-hmm. And then once you get to that point, that's when it becomes more per specification. That's when it becomes more, I don't want to say user friendly, but user adapted.
Correct. And so if I were a user and I was looking, or an owner that needed a site in Ascension Parish, I'd be looking right now to try to get all of that pre-construction design and permitting out of the way, so that as soon as that lot could be conveyed, I could immediately roll into construction.
I didn't miss it earlier when you said this project's about 3 years in the works. I mean, we're seeing a lot of announcements coming down the pipe right now. Y'all were into this before it was cool.
Well, the good thing about demographic data and demographic analysis is that numbers don't lie.
Right.
And if you know where to look and how to look, you can uncover opportunities before most people find out about them.
Talk to me a little bit about that, because I mean, how much of this is gut instinct and how much of it is numbers?
It's about half art and half science.
Yeah.
So as I'm a CCIM, I'm certified commercial investment member, and part of our training is demographic analysis, being able to gather the data, and we've got a very unique platform that we use to do that. Being able to interpret the data is really where the art comes in, and then being able to work with local people like Trey and like our marketing representative Evan Scroggs with Lee and Associates to try to interpret that data down to the user profile is really where the rubber meets the road.
Mm-hmm.
And we've refined that process over time. I'm not going to say that we're the best, and we're trying to get better every day, but I feel comfortable with where we are today.
And bring it back to you on this, Trey, is follow up on that.
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the things that people don't realize is the lack of supply of developable land in that area. So you can go drive through that corridor and you say, "Oh, I see lots all over the place. I see woods here and what." Yeah, what you see is wetlands, or you see properties that are chopped up by pipelines or some kind of servitudes or easements, or you see property that's some kind of a mandated buffer between civilization and the plants that's never going to be developed. There is a huge lack of supply of developable land, and even if you do find a piece of land, you're probably we're starting with 187 acres. We're going to end up with what, 120, 130 of actual usable acres because of water detention.
Okay.
Right? And so when you look at a piece of property and you say, "Oh, well, Magnolia Ridge is selling for this," well, that's a whole lot cheaper. Well, yeah, I promise you, it is not cheaper when you calculate in the cost to bring that land to shovel ready status.
Yeah,
it's not going to be cheaper, right? And people don't realize how much goes into that. The 3 years that you were talking about,
mm-hmm.
the year that we've spent, people really don't realize how long it takes to get a piece of property, especially in Ascension Parish, to this status.
Greg, walk me through a little bit about timelines for when you're going to be, fully open for business for people to start, come a calling and whatnot. And if you could kind of tie that in with talking about working with the municipality, working with the parish or the state to make sure everybody's timelines are running right. Because the last thing you want to do is have somebody just, sitting on Highway 30 to wait and turn in,
Sure. Yeah. So there's a lot of work that has to be done in the next few months, not just to handle the improvements that come on Industrial Place Drive off of Highway 30, but also the infrastructure that we have to build.
Yeah.
And being a full-time professional development company, we've got project managers that are in our organization that will handle all that coordination with the architects and engineers.
Mm-hmm.
I've got some really great people that work for us, and coupling that with the resources at the Ratcliffe companies, which include large commercial construction divisions, we've got the manpower and the expertise to navigate that process. Now, there are always bumps in the road, and we're working with a very good local contractor. The name of the company is 5S, and we're very happy to have them as our civil contractor.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got very high expectations on the things that they've told us performance-wise and their ability to get in and get the project done. So we manage all of these schedules through critical path schedule management. I have someone in my office that does that. And we make adjustments along the way for rain delays or for additional engineering requirements that we have to comply with. The current schedule is for us to be complete in October and then go back before the parish
That's
for
quick.
final plat approval in November.
Okay.
Now that's an aggressive schedule,
Yeah.
and we're going to push hard to maintain that. But over the years, we've always learned that Murphy has laws, and sometimes they come into play. So plus or minus a couple of weeks, we're optimistic we can hit that date.
Okay. I mean, October to November, that is bold to say the least. In the meanwhile, I mean, it's all systems go until then. I appreciate a couple minutes, y'all, just pulling back the curtain a little bit, because as we see more economic development, as we see more growth, it's important for us to understand what's being built in our backyard and like how it serves the people. So thank y'all so much for a couple minutes. Gregg Thompson, Trey Williams, I appreciate the time.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you having us.
Sort of thing, like stepping away from today's headlines to hit the overall general picture. That Magnolia Ridge thing came up last week, and I got fired up about it. Like I got really fired up in hearing about it, and I wanted to learn more. And wait, what? Oh. Do y'all want more stuff like that? With all the economic development we've got going on, I think it would be a good idea to put more emphasis on that. 6:55 at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Got to take a quick second to remind you about the folks over at Vex European, VEX, as V is in Vinny, Vex European, and VexEuropean.com. Been in business for over a decade now, specializing in the repair and maintenance of European vehicles. If you drive a European vehicle, you might want to check out the website. Scratch that. You definitely want to check out the website. See if your make of vehicles on there. When you talk about that investment you made into your European vehicle, you wanted both performance and longevity, you'll get that at its peak most if you stay with a technician who knows your car inside and out. If you've got a BMW, you'll get a BMW tech, a Jaguar tech, Land Rover, Mercedes, Audi, you name it. You want to be paired with the right technician that stays with your car? Check out VexEuropean.com. Once you see your vehicle on the drop-down tab by vehicles, go ahead and hit the specials tab first. See if you can't save $100 on your first visit. Then make your appointment now at VexEuropean.com. Couldn't help but notice this story in The Advocate this morning. Headline reads, abandoned buildings drive crime in Baton Rouge. This proposal could speed up tearing them down. This would be Aiden McCahill, I believe I have that pronounced right, who wrote it. Reading from The Advocate, quote, when Baton Rouge inspectors determine a blighted property is unsafe, the city parish government can ask the Metro Council to convene a hearing to hold the owners accountable and decide if the blighted homes or buildings should be demolished. But such condemnation hearings rarely happen. Quote, in 10 years of witnessing Metro Council meetings, I have not witnessed one actual vote on a blighted property, said Andrew Fitzgerald, Senior Vice President of Strategy and Research for the Baton Rouge Area Chamber. Well, now there's 3 bills that would hope to do something about that. Those 3 bills, 2 are in the House, 1's in the Senate. We'll get back to them in just a second. When it comes to the blighted properties, though, we have, I want to say it's over 53,000 in the Baton Rouge area. And I know that 500 of them have looked at condemnation and some action from the Metro Council. But the thing is, the Metro Council can only take up so much at a time. And even with what they can take up, they don't take up as much as they can. In fact, we had Jake Polanski on from the chamber last week talking about exactly this, like where we are and what it's going to take, how many hurdles we have to get to where we need to be.
There are more than 500 or almost 500, blighted properties that are going through the condemnation process in progress of being addressed right now. And that is a significant number, and you're not going to address that, whittle that down by only hearing 25 a meeting.
And the Metro Council can hear 25 a meeting. That's not to say that they do hear 25 a meeting. 500 going through condemnation, 53. It was either 5,300 or 53,000. I know that's such a huge disparity there, but I'm not remembering the number off the top of my head. The number 500 is important to remember because it's those that are actually going through condemnation. Now, what you run into here, you got problems with ownership. For one thing, tracking down accurate titles is one thing. You got problems with who's in charge of it once you condemn it. That's why the 3 bills that are out there that look to change this up are Senate Bill 236 by Senator Rick Edmonds. When it comes to the condemnation authority, it would grant the condemnation authority to the mayor president. Just as an update where that bill stands right now, it'll be heard on the Senate. I believe it's heard on the Senate floor today. So it's already cleared committee. You got House Bill 162 by Representative Vanessa LaFleur. That would grant expropriation authority to Build BR, which is East Baton Rouge's redevelopment authority. That one's mired in committee right now. You've also got House Bill 247 by Emily Chenevere that would grant expropriation authority to the city parish. That one's being heard on the House floor today. Coming up on news, traffic, weather, hour 2's next. Hey, Scott. Okay. Oh, Anthony did noon mass? Yeah. Oh, wow. Kirk? Oh, no, Josh. Yeah, but he hasn't even been here a year yet, and we've kind of been in limbo because we've had Charbel. Charbel's technically our associate until July 1st. He's been on the DL. He's been on the disabled list, IR. Yeah, and what is .705 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Hour 2 coming your way right now. Brian here with you, John LaBeouf producing. We have got a busy hour this hour. We got Medical Monday coming up at 7:15. We've got Will Green from LABI coming up at 7:35. Ooh, we have so much to talk about with Will. Probably won't even get to the budget this morning because of the number of bills that are going to be heard by Senate Judiciary Committee A, belovedly called Jude A. We'll talk about it with Will Green coming up at 7:35. A lot of the stuff that involves our insurance is going to be on the table over there. All that's later on this hour, though. Let's start off with top stories and trending.
Number 5.
Number 5 starts us off in Livingston Parish. There was a shooting at the Doyle High baseball field on Friday night. Actually, one person was shot and killed at the baseball park off McLynn Road Friday night. Officials say 23-year-old Evan Lynch was shot in the chest at the Doyle High School baseball park. Shortly after Lynch was shot, authorities said they got an emergency call from a vehicle in which Lynch was a passenger. Brandon Swallow was arrested shortly afterwards. And then after Swallow's arrest, the Livingston Police Department obtained an arrest warrant for a second suspect. That would be 23-year-old Caleb Rowley of Dedham Springs. This was after they determined the crime appeared to be, quote, premeditated, and that Swallow didn't act alone.
Number 4.
4 people were injured yesterday when a car flipped on I-10 westbound near College Drive. 3 of them had to be taken to the hospital. 2 lanes of I-10 had to be closed down while DOTD tended to the accident.
Number 3.
East Baton Rouge commercial real estate market continued its upward trend in April with an increase in sales volume for the second straight month. This according to Elephant Realty, who puts out monthly data. Sales rose by just over 4% last month. Year-to-date sales volume reached $155 million through April, outpacing the $118 million through the first 4 months of 2024.
Number 2.
May Street, which runs across University Lake, is going to be closed to all traffic starting on June 4th. Not expected to reopen until the middle of 2026. This closure is a necessary part of the University Lakes restoration project, but will cause a lot of unavoidable headaches until it's completed.
Number 1.
Work on the budget is about to get underway out at the state capitol. HB 1 is slated to be heard in the House Appropriations Committee this morning. Representative Jack McFarland is the author of the 185-page budget bill. He is slated to join us tomorrow morning at 8:15 with an update. What you got, John?
Well, the White House said on Sunday that it reached a trade deal with China as the two countries negotiated for a second day in Switzerland.
So, not a long-term deal here. More like a pause. More like a little tariff pause.
That's it.
And when you get inside the numbers, it gets interesting. Because that which comes from China into the United States will have I'm going to get this backwards now, aren't I? China to the U.S. would have a 30% tariff, and U.S. to China would have 10. Am I backwards on that?
Let's see. No, I think that's right.
Yeah,
I think that's right.
I hate when I do things off of memory.
I know,
because
right?
I can't get my computer to move over to where it needs to be. Anyway, it's 90 days, which gives the markets enough time to react and, quite honestly, overreact. But it also gives the public time to react. 90 days is enough time for all of us collectively to respond at the registers and say, this is where we like it.
That's it.
And I think if we see something that's mutually beneficial over the first month or so of these 90 days, we could see this turn from 90 days into long term.
Absolutely. Hey, we learned a lot more over the weekend about the lineage of Pope Leo XIV, including his family's history in New Orleans.
Pope Bob? That's what everybody doing a Chicago accent calls him, Pope Bob. The maternal grandfather of 69-year-old Robert Prevost, the newly minted Pope, was evidently born abroad in Santo Domingo, the capital of the Dominican Republic, according to birth records. His grandfather, Joseph Martinez, obtained an 1887 marriage license to wed the future Pope's grandmother, Louise Baquet. He listed his birthplace as Haiti. So Haiti and Santo Domingo, they got married in New Orleans, lived in the 7th Ward for some time. And just Creole as Creole could be, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the 7th Ward of New Orleans at the turn of the 1900s was the home of the St. Roch neighborhood, right? By the 1920s, they had moved to Chicago.
Okay.
So but map that all out the way you have to. But apparently, and I don't have follow up on this, but the Pope's fraternal grandfather's side, his father's parents, apparently have Louisiana ties as well.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe I was reading that earlier.
Something I want to say of Voiles Parish. I don't know,
Yeah,
but I'm so
ties nonetheless.
and the long and short of it is we're claiming him.
Yeah.
He's ours.
Exactly.
He's Louisiana Pope.
Yes.
I mean, what roots in Louisiana, then uprooted and moved to Chicago. He's the Louis Armstrong of popes.
Okay.
How about that?
Yeah, there you go. Hey, speaking of roots in Louisiana, Addis's own John Foster continues to move forward on American Idol as he is now in the top 5. So, very impressive stuff coming out of Louisiana. Just so much.
I'm being told it's Trey, not St. Roch. And that flies in the face of what I was told on Friday.
Oh.
Dang it. You know what? I'm going to go with Trey, though, because that's coming from our good buddy, Paul Arrigo.
Okay.
And I don't ever I know better than to question him. So back to John Foster, though.
Yes.
Speaking of New Orleans.
Yes.
He was singing Almost There from Princess and the Frog.
That's right.
Best Disney soundtrack ever.
So good.
Also, best Disney princess ever. Princess Tiana.
Yeah.
Look, Princess Tiana was an entrepreneur. Okay.
Right.
She wasn't waiting around for some man to come save her. She's not singing One Day My Prince Will Come.
Yeah.
She's busting hump trying to create a restaurant. Like that's to me, that's one hell of a role model right there. Entrepreneurship, build out a business. The girl can cook. I mean, I'm here for all of it.
Oh, absolutely.
Got a giant singing alligator.
Yeah.
You got what's the firefly's name?
Raymond.
That's right.
You're gonna love this tie though, because not only did he perform Almost There, but he also performed Believe by Brooks and Dunn last night.
Because his mother always believed in him.
But check this out. Kix Brooks is from Shreveport.
Man, you from Shreveport? Oh, go ahead.
Too bad. Y'all from Shreveport?
The ties, Brian.
I'm
Between the
telling
Princess
you.
and the Frog, Brooks and Dunn. Love it.
Gotta love it.
Yeah. Incredible. Incredible.
712 Talk 107.3 FM. We are due for a quick break. When we come back, it is time for Medical Monday. We're talking women's health next.
I like those ties. I like that. All right. Thank you for holding.
Regular bumper, and then I'll toss to Medical Monday. I have to knock out a promo because I'm way behind. $7:15 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Don't forget the Talk 107.3 Spring Cha-Ching, powered by Citizens Bank and Trust is back. Register today at talk1073.com for your chance to win $5,000 cash. It's Spring Cha-Ching from Citizens Bank and Trust and Talk 107.3 FM. And while you're doing that, we're going to keep it moving right here. It is time for Medical Monday. And this week, we are talking women's health. We're joined by Dr. Carly Mizell Boggs, a gynecologist with Our Lady of the Lake Health. Thank you for being with us, Dr. Boggs. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
No, glad to have you on here. It is, of course, May is Women's Health Month, which, is time to raise awareness about the importance of preventative care. And this is important because why?
So preventative care is really important because we can stop and prevent diseases before they progress. So the point is to be proactive, not reactive in our healthcare. So preventative care includes all of your screenings and immunizations.
Let's get a little bit deeper into that. Screenings and immunizations for what?
So screenings for women include cervical cancer screening, also known as the Pap smear. That starts at age 21 and continues for low-risk patients through age 65. A few years ago, the guidelines changed and actually recommended that women should have exams every year, but not necessarily a Pap smear. And that's because of the role of HPV testing. When we talk about immunizations, Gardasil or any of your other HPV vaccines are start in adolescence, but actually have been approved up to age 45 as well to help prevent HPV-related cancers. The other screenings for women include breast cancer screening, which starts at age 40 and continues yearly, as well as colon cancer screening that starts at age 45.
Did I read that there's now been the FDA has approved an at-home cervical cancer screening?
Yes, it's going to be in some select markets, I think in California, but its focus is on specific, HPV testing. So HPV is human papillomavirus, which is the virus we know that causes cervical cancer. So if it's positive, it doesn't mean you have cervical cancer. It means you need the next step, which is a in-office procedure where we look at the cervix a lot more closely and take biopsies as needed. But all of that is focusing on HPV detection.
I bring up the home testing one there because oftentimes we think that something to be done at home can replace going to the doctor's office, but that's not necessarily the case. Whether you're talking about cervical cancer, breast cancer, anything, really, there's a reason that we make appointments and go.
Correct. Absolutely. So those are some of the at-home things are great ways to initiate access to care for patients who may have difficulty getting into the office, but there's no substitute for a good clinical physical exam and discussing your symptoms and concerns with a licensed provider to be able to determine some of the more nuanced things that we as providers are trained to pick up on.
Oftentimes we associate cancer with, genetics, is it hereditary and whatnot. When it comes to cancers that women face most often, a lot of that just we need to disabuse ourselves of the notion that if mom didn't have it, I don't have it.
Correct. Absolutely. So genetics do play a factor, but they are not the only driving cause. And so, specifically for breast cancer and colon cancer, and ovarian cancer as well. Unfortunately, there's no screening for that. But even if there is no family history, being a woman, being a certain age puts you at a baseline risk, which is what prompts screening and intervention by a licensed provider.
We are talking with Dr. Carly Mizell Boggs. She is a gynecologist with Our Lady of the Lake Health. Dr. Boggs, I think this all walks us up to an annual wellness exam because the screenings are one part of it, but at the same time, though, heart disease is the leading cause of death within women. So walk us through the importance of that overall wellness exam.
Absolutely. So my focus area, of course, as a OBGYN is more in the women's pelvic health, breast health, but as a primary care providers in the community as well, will tell you that what we follow up on and evaluate during your annual exam is weight, blood pressure, basic labs. So looking at your cholesterol, looking at to make sure all of your screenings are up to date, and checking for any markers of heart disease. So that also has a genetic component to it, and making sure that you're staying at a healthy weight with a healthy diet, regular exercise, good sleep, and staying in touch with your medical provider to check labs on a regular basis, as indicated by your age and risk factors, are very, very important so that we can intervene before things get too progressed where the intervention doesn't always work.
What markers? What should women be looking out for?
So cholesterol is a big one. So getting your cholesterol checked, getting your blood count checked to make sure you don't have any anemia or any other signs of any problems, getting your kidney function checked. And those are all done with basic labs during annual exams.
Let's talk Louisiana specifically. Are there any specific health disparities that impact women here that we should be more aware of?
Absolutely. So because of the obesity epidemic, specifically that's worse in Louisiana and a lot of the southern states, a lot of your chronic diseases are going to be significantly more common. So high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease as well as when we talk about women specifically, it's related to maternal mortality. So we have a higher rate in Louisiana of moms dying during pregnancy or in the first year after birth than the national average. And a lot of that is related to drug use is the number one cause. Actually, accidental overdose in Louisiana has been the number one cause of maternal mortality for the last few years. Heart disease is a big one. So maintaining a overall healthy lifestyle prior to getting pregnant is important to decrease those risks. Any of your other mental health conditions as well. So we have a high rate of suicide and homicide in Louisiana among our moms.
Really?
Yes.
The wow, it's always very stark when you hear it put like that. Stepping away from that, just to the everyday moms out there, or the everyday women out there, we often hear, women will deprioritize themselves, whether it be, in deference of their families, whether it be in deference to their career. Women will deprioritize themselves. So what advice would you have for women who might be putting their health on the back burner?
So, some of those cliches are true. You can't pour from an empty cup. Put your your oxygen mask on first before you put it on others. So we as women, as moms, as wives, really do tend to focus on other people instead of ourselves. But if you start noticing something's different in your body, something is concerning, those are all times to seek out intervention. And if you can make yourself a priority in focusing on preventative health and annual care, then you really can lessen the frequency and severity of long-term health complications, so that you're able to really focus on all of those things that are important to you.
We're talking with Dr. Carly Mizell Boggs. She is a gynecologist with Our Lady of the Lake Health. Dr. Boggs, we're going to really leave the rails here. I'm going to ask you a question that I know you have no way of preparing for. What's the husband's role here? How do we help aid getting our wives to the doctor without getting ourselves in the doghouse?
So I think it's a family priority of overall health, right? So it's making sure that everyone in the family is prioritized for their health concerns. If it's taking turns doing all of the, household things or whatever the family responsibilities are, so that mom can go to the doctor, mom can go out for a walk on whatever days are available to her, as well as making healthy choices for the family. So it's purchasing fresh foods, less processed foods to cook for the family, and making overall health a priority for everyone involved, I think can really drive home the idea that we all need to focus on our health and preventative care.
So basically a stance of I'll go to the doctor when you go to the doctor kind of helps.
Maybe I wouldn't necessarily put it as an ultimatum, but I think if it's understood that everybody needs to go see their doctor at least once a year, and what do we need to do to make that happen for our family and our lifestyle, as well as what do we need to do to make our family as a whole healthier? Do we do family outdoor activities? Do we make sure no one's smoking? Do we make healthier food choices as we are going out to dinner? Those are all of the things that as a whole take the responsibility of making sure that everyone's healthy off of just mom and putting it on as a responsibility of the family and family unit.
I didn't realize how standoffish it would sound until I heard it out loud, Dr. Boggs. My apologies. I'll go to the doctor if you'll go. It was like more of a teamwork sort of thing is where I was headed.
Yeah.
Just that
teamwork,
like
exactly.
everything that a husband could say, it came out wrong. All right. Let's talk about focusing back on the ladies here. Some simple steps that women could take today to be more proactive about their health.
So make a primary care appointment. All of your concerns and things, people a lot of times feel either rushed in the doctor's appointment, or they think, oh yeah, I forgot I was supposed to ask X, Y, and Z. Write it down, bring it with you. Make sure all of your immunizations are up to date. Make sure that you're not smoking, that you're making time to exercise and eat healthy. Make sure all of your screenings are up to date. And during that annual exam is a time for kind of to check off all of those things and make sure that they've all been done so that you can stay as healthy as possible.
Last one before we get you out of here, and I greatly appreciate your time this morning, and that's follow-up. Where can someone call if they need to schedule an appointment, or where do they go if they want to learn more?
Absolutely. So they can visit Our Lady of the Lakes website. It has a link to find providers in your area. Our office is also available. So Primary Care for Women we have two internal medicine doctors, one family medicine doctor, one family nurse practitioner to provide annual exams and overall primary care. And then I am there as well with my women's health nurse practitioner to provide all of the gynecologic services. And we, if that is not the most convenient, then finding a doctor in your area is important.
Absolutely. Dr. Carly Mizell Boggs, thank you so much for a couple minutes this morning. I greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Of course, Medical Monday presented by the folks over at Our Lady of the Lake every Monday. We always appreciate that partnership, and that information is always something new coming out every week that we learn. All right, we got news, traffic, weather coming your way. On the back end of our news break, we'll check in with Will Green, President and CEO of the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry, going to dive back into the legislative session for the absolute latest. What's on tap for this week? A lot going on in Senate Judiciary Committee A, aka Jude A. That's coming up next. Before we get you the news, though, got to remind you about the folks at the Baton Rouge Metro Airport. FlyBTR.com is the website. FlyBTR.com. About 15 minutes ago, it was wheels up to D.C. Every single day, the Baton Rouge Metro Airport offers you a direct flight into Reagan National right in the heart of D.C. And it comes home in the evening. Get your business done same day. Come back home, sleep in your own bed at night, fly to D.C. at FlyBTR.com. FlyBTR.com is the website, and it's not just Washington, D.C. There are numerous different outlets available from the Baton Rouge Metro Airport. In fact, if you want to hop on FlyBTR.com, just pull up that list of arrivals and departures, and actually, right from the home page, plug in where you're flying to, what your departure date is, what your return date is. They could pair you up with the flights that are available right here in our own backyard. There's no reason to haul an hour down the interstate. There's no reason to deal with that traffic. There's no reason to deal with that parking situation or the TSA down there. Yes, they've made improvements, but no, it's not nearly as good as it is as flying out of our own backyard with FlyBTR.com. News, traffic, weather. Will Green is next. Here's the notes for Medical Monday, or at least the list of questions. That was almost like a paper airplane. What? Are we looking at a week where we could dry out? Here's your forecast from Emma Kate Cowan. Nice little dousing overnight. Everything was wet on the way in this morning. 738, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. We are entering week 5 of the legislative session, and a lot of battles are about to begin. Want to dive in on a lot of those with Will Green, President and CEO of the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. Will, how are you, man?
Brian, good morning. I'm doing well, man. Hope you had a great weekend.
Oh, yes, absolutely fantastic. We did boiled crawfish for Mother's Day. How'd your Mother's Day look?
Awesome, man. Yeah, great Mother's Day, and obviously it's happy Mother's Day to all the wonderful mothers out there, mine and my beautiful wife, and hope you and your wife and your mother had a great Mother's Day as well.
Yep, absolutely. It's always a good day. Always a good day. And then you gear back up for the next day, all nice and refreshed and whatnot. It looks like tomorrow is when Senate Judiciary Committee A is going to begin all the battles.
Yeah. So big week at the legislature. Obviously, we're halfway through the this legislative fiscal session, which seems less like a typical fiscal session, which is normally really focused on tax and budget, and this year has been less so focused as much on tax and budget and more on addressing what for some time now has been a top issue for Louisiana citizens, which is our insurance crisis. And so, Brian, we talked about it before. I think one of the big goals of this session before we really did get down and focus on the tax and budget measure was the legislature, especially in the House, where a lot of the tax bills get started. They wanted to start moving insurance legislation to help address our civil justice climate. They wanted to get those bills moving quickly, get them out of the House over to the Senate where they could be debated and hopefully sent to the governor's desk prior to getting really weighed down by some of the tax and budget discussion. And so that was the plan. So far, so good. Obviously, this week will tell us how good, but obviously, this week we are going to see a lot of those tax measures come up in the House.
We got Will Green, President and CEO of the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry, on with us. Will, as I counted, I believe I have this right, there are 40 different bills that will be in front of the Judiciary Committee A, which I don't think I'm stepping out of bounds when I say this is where good bills go to die more often than not. What does Law B have its eye on specifically within those 40 bills?
Yeah, so look, I mean, what we're trying to do here, Brian, we've said it, time and time again, is we're trying to create a civil justice system that's designed to provide proper remedies for injured parties, incentivize, responsible actions, and, compensate individuals who have legitimately been harmed, right? And so create a fair, transparent, balanced system in Louisiana. Unfortunately, I think our system has been unbalanced. It's been unpredictable. It hasn't been transparent. And as a result, citizens in Louisiana pay some of the highest tort tax in the country. We have among the highest insurance costs in the country, and we have been a judicial hellhole for many, many years now. And so how do we bring some balance? How do we bring fairness? How do we provide true, proper remedies to the citizens of Louisiana while incentivizing responsible actions? We think we do that one way by medical expense transparency. And we hope Senator Mike Reese is going to have a bill that we hope will be heard on Tuesday. We've talked about it before. We used to call it collateral source, but then we realized that's what the lawyers call it. The average citizen doesn't really understand what that means. And so we call it medical expense transparency. That's basically making sure that the jury doesn't just see the sticker price of the medical bill. They also see what was actually paid, right? Mm-hmm. And then if the bill hasn't been paid yet, if all that's been sent to the claimant is the sticker price and the jury doesn't really know what is going to be paid, then both parties can put on evidence of what a reasonable payment would be instead of just giving that sticker price, which we all know the sticker price is never what's paid, right? That's not reality, okay? And so that's what Georgia's done. That's what Florida's done. Texas has a bill right now to do just that, and it's passed out of the Senate. And so obviously that's common sense reform to incentivize a fair and balanced system. The other way we think we can do that, which hopefully will be up on Tuesday, and this is a bill that the governor said he likes, he thinks it's fair, is reversing the Housley presumption. That's a bill by Representative Mellarine. It passed out of the House pretty overwhelmingly. And that's a bill that would basically say that just because you didn't have necessarily symptoms before the accident, and symptoms present after the accident, you don't necessarily get a presumption that the accident is a result of your symptoms. And so you have to still go in and prove that the accident actually caused your symptoms. And the reason that's important, Brian, is because I'm 41 years old. I'm in pretty good shape, but any doctor right now will probably tell you if I went and had an MRI, I would have some symptoms of a disc bulge or narrowing or some degenerative issue with my spine. And I could go and I could fall down, or I could tap a vehicle in front of me, and I could say, man, my back is killing me. Go to the doctor, and I would have some symptoms, and I could have a presumption that now I'm hurt and I need all these medical bills. Now, under this, if this bill passes, I would have to actually go in and prove that the accident actually caused my symptoms. Again, no, we don't know any other state in the country that has this presumption. And so we're reversing it back and making it 50-50. Again, fair, balanced. That's what other states do.
Would Representative Mellarine's bill, and I want to get back to Senator Reese's bill too, would Representative Mellarine's bill put the burden of proof on the claimant? Or, because as it stands right now, you can't even ask. You can't even bring it up. I think just bringing this up in court would deter a lot for what already has records based on built into it. But who would have the burden of proof under Representative Mellarine's bill?
So the burden of proof is on the plaintiff. Would be on the plaintiff.
Okay.
And so right now, in most states, right, if you bring a cause of action, if you're the plaintiff, you have the initial burden of proof to prove that your symptoms were caused by the accident. Once you meet your burden, the burden then shifts to the defense to say, no. Will had those symptoms before. Those are degenerative. Those were there. Those are, that's not what caused the symptoms. In Louisiana, there's this presumption that if you allege that, look, there was no symptoms before, got an MRI, now I have pain, got an MRI, and there's degenerative, or there's a herniation. Now I've got a rebuttable presumption, which means that it's presumed, and the defense now has to automatically overcome, so it automatically shifts.
Right.
There is no automatic shift in any other state. We have an automatic shift. And so I kind of like to say, if you're thinking about it in terms of points scored, in every other state, you go in 50-50. In Louisiana, you go down 51-49 automatically. And so that's why it's so difficult. And that's why insurance companies are so often forced to settle before trial.
Why? And I ask about the burden of proof because in every other instance in court throughout the U.S. legal system, you are innocent until proven guilty. In this case, the defendant is, until you have until this bill passes, the defendant is guilty until they can prove themselves innocent, which they're not even afforded the opportunity to do that. They're just guilty right from jump, just off of accusation. This would change that to where you can get back to a little, you're innocent until proven guilty.
That's right. That's right.
I want to go back, if we could, to Senator Reese's bill on medical expenses. How does it compare to Representative Glorioso's bill? Is there one that looks more like it's favored, one that would do more?
So they're similar. So Representative Glorioso's bill was amended a little bit in the House to do very similar, I think, intent. And so Representative Glorioso's bill, we think will probably be up as well in the House. We haven't got, in the Senate committee, we have not gotten word yet, but Representative Glorioso's bill, and look, any bill that Senator Reese has a bill, Representative Glorioso has a bill. The main goal of medical expense transparency, as Florida passed it, as Georgia passed it, as Texas is moving through the process, right, is to make sure that the claimant is made whole, right? And how do you make the claimant whole? Well, it's the reasonable expenses that they incurred.
Right.
We all know that's not the sticker price. And so you've got to be able to put on evidence to the jury of, number one, what was actually paid, or number two, if you just have the medical bills, let an expert, and both sides get to put on the expert, the plaintiff and the defense, let the expert come in, and they have medical billing experts, you know, that are credible, that can testify, that have, you know, based on CPT codes, based on RVUs, and I know this is some pretty wonky stuff here, but they have experts that can tell you what is a reasonable price for the medical bills. Let the jury see that. Let them contemplate what exactly should be owed to the claimant to fully indemnify them for their injuries. And again, remember, insurance in its purest form is meant to indemnify you for your loss, which means make you whole, not put you in a better position than where you were before the accident. And right now, our collateral source system puts the injured party in a better position than where they were by paying the full sticker price.
I have trouble getting past the idea that anything more than the actual receipts, like the money that has left your account to pay for those hospital bills, ought to be the money that's recovered. How do we open up the argument that there is an argument for more?
You know, Brian, as we've talked about before, sometimes the things that makes the most sense are the hardest to pass, you know?
That's fair. Before we get you out of here, we've got just a minute left. I want to talk inventory tax, move away from Jew Day. Inventory taxes up in Ways and Means. Let's talk about the importance of this bill.
Yeah, so one of the big disappointments of CA2 not passing was parishes no longer have that ability to opt out of the inventory tax. And we talked about it before, Brian, right? We're one of 9 states in the country that levels a local inventory tax. That's a tax on inventory held for sale. Think groceries, cars, you know, anything that business holds for sale as inventory. It disincentivizes investment. It disincentivizes growth in Louisiana. And so as a mechanism to try to put a Band-Aid on that bad tax, the state came in, it's a local tax. The state came in and said, we will give businesses back a credit, a state credit for the local tax they pay. Well, the legislature last year said, we're going to get rid of that credit that we pay you at the state level for C corporations, because we're hoping that the locals will opt out once we give them that ability and we pay them this local option mechanism. Well, unfortunately, that failed. But what didn't fail was the C corps lose that credit. And so Representative Bass in committee tomorrow has a bill to say, look, while we try to figure out a way out of the inventory tax, we're going to extend the runway for that credit to continue a few more years. We think that's responsible. We think it gives all of the parties a chance to come to the table and to continue to discuss how to get out from underneath this harmful local inventory tax that disincentivizes investment and growth in Louisiana.
Yeah, basically making the credit contingent upon the opt-out. I mean, you can't lose one without losing the other.
Well, I mean, look, everybody agreed that it was such a bad tax, but that it's complicated, right? So we need to figure out a way out of it. But years ago, they also said, look, but we can't have the tax and not have the credit because it disincentivizes business so much. We're just saying continue that theme, a few more years, because we think we've almost figured out a way out of the tax.
He is Will Green, President CEO of the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. We check in every Monday. We always appreciate the time. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you. Blew right past your money now. That doesn't matter because we were talking about your money when we're talking about insurance. All right, quick break. Come back. We got This Day in History next. Mm. $7:55 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. We're going to talk with Dr. Michael Pasquier from LSU about Pope Leo at 8:05, which means we have to move up this day in history.
All right, moving quick here.
Yeah, moving quick.
1789.
Okay.
William Wilberforce makes his first major speech on abolition in the UK House of Commons, reasoning the slave trade morally reprehensible and an issue of natural justice.
1789, you said?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right.
1890. Louisiana legalizes prize fighting. That happened today. 1984. World of Rivers World Exposition opens in New Orleans. Movie news here, entertainment wise. 1994, Pulp Fiction is released. 2002.
I want to go back to the World's Fair Open. Yeah. The
World of Rivers?
Yeah.
World Exposition?
Yeah. It was kind of an economic flop.
Yeah.
But when you look at it through the lens of history, really opened the door to everything that the riverfront in New Orleans has to offer today.
For sure. Yeah.
Like it was locals went, yes, didn't attract people to town the way it was supposed to, blah, blah, blah. But the World's Fair, which opened today and ran all the way through like November or whatever, go back and like look how much was stemmed from that.
Yes, indeed. Fast forwarding to 2002, unless you have anything.
Nope.
Okay. Former U.S. President Jimmy Carter arrives in Cuba for a 5-day visit with Fidel Castro, becoming the first president of the U.S. in or out of office to visit the island since Castro's 1959 revolution.
Really?
So that happened. Let's see. 2012, the discovery of a missing Mayan calendar piece disproves the 2012 Armageddon. So, yeah, remember that? Everyone
I do remember the Mayan calendar
yeah.
thing. Yeah. Then they came back and said it was off by a couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were way off. Anything else on this day?
No.
For the sake of time, we got 2 minutes. So
Yep.
Let's see. Moving on the birthdays here. George Carlin today. Let's see. Katharine Hepburn.
Okay.
As well.
All right.
Actor Rami Malek as well. Just saw a movie with him, The Amateur.
Okay.
He played also Freddie Mercury in Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yes, he did.
Yep.
Yes, he did. And I've got skateboarder Tony Hawk.
Yeah, nice.
I don't have internet right now, so that's all I got. Yeah.
No.
I am of no help.
Emilio Estevez also today. Let's see. Ving Rhames also, speaking of, Pulp Fiction. Let's see. Deaths. Robert Reed. He was the dad, and he was Mike Brady.
Oh, okay.
Brady
cool.
Bunch.
Yeah.
Let's see. As far as notable deaths go, that's pretty much the only one it'd be ever reaching. If let's see. Yeah. But let's see, also National Day, moving there.
Yeah.
National Women's Checkup Day, of course, as you
Okay. Yeah.
spoke to earlier.
We covered women's health in our medical Monday segment with the folks over at Our Lady of the Lake. So
That's right.
we can roll with that one for sure. That, of course, This Day in History presented by the folks over at 5 Star Printing and Signs. Go see. Look, it is time to take a look around your office and see what needs a refresh. If you own a restaurant, look at your menu. Does it need a refresh? If you have receipts, invoices, anything that can be printed, 5 Star Printing and Signs can help you out. Give my buddy Danny a call at 271-4096, 271-4096. And oh, by the way, can we talk about merch? How important it is, the branding of merchandise with your company's logo on it. Whatever it is you want to slap your company's logo on, they can help you out. Printshop5.com, printshop5.com, or like I said, give them a call at 271-4096 for 5 Star Printing and Signs. All right, quick break for news, traffic, weather. When we come back, let's learn a little bit more about Pope Leo next. Make sure that's Dr. Pasquier. Make sure that's Dr. Pasquier, please. Thank you. Serve in the military. Military. Buddy Guy, point competed Chicago as well. Love it. Oh. Oh. Just play a regular bumper. We don't want to wait 40 seconds for I want to get right to it. .806 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. So last Thursday, Robert Prevost was named Pope Leo the 14th. We weren't able to connect on Friday morning to learn a little bit more about what we can expect. So we connect this morning. Dr. Michael Pasquier from LSU is on with us. How are you, sir?
Hey, good morning. Happy last day of spring, it looks like.
Oh, yeah. I know technically not until June 20th, but it's going to ramp up very, very quickly this week. Absolutely. I want to start with the most basic question. As you are a professor of religious studies, how shocked were you to hear that there was an American Pope?
Yeah, completely shocked. I think that anyone who was going into the enclave saying, yeah, it was going to be a U.S. Pope, that person is a liar. No one expected this, and which makes it a really exciting time. For Catholics around the world, but in the United States, we have videos of the person who was going to be a pope at Game 1 of the 2005 World Series. That's crazy, and it gives us kind of an insight into the fact that we're going to know this man better than any other pope that we've known in our lifetime, which is kind of scary if I was the pope, but it's exciting for us because we're going to really get to know this person, this leader of a church with 1.4 billion people.
Okay, let's talk about that because we have to. This is an important time for us as Americans to remember he doesn't belong to just us. In fact, the announcement about the freedom of the press thing. How important is it for Americans to remember that everything he says is worldwide and not directed back to the U.S.?
Yeah, I mean, look. Reality is 1.4 billion people around the world, 1.2 million in Louisiana. About 20% of the U.S. population, which is about 50 million. He is from the United States, but he spent most of his priesthood in South America, specifically Peru. He's worked in the Vatican, and whoever he was going into the conclave, he is a different person now. And I mean that in a kind of, obviously, a kind of symbolic way. Mm-hmm. But he is the Pope now. There were some interviews with his brothers, and they were like, "Yeah, I don't know when we're going to see him next."
Right.
I'm sure they will, but they also know the people who know him best, who was playing Wordle with him the day before the conclave. They're now thinking, "Yeah, he's my brother, but he's not the same."
The Wordle thing hit me because I play the Wordle every day, and now every time I get the Wordle, I think that I get fewer guesses than the Pope.
Yeah, right. Same here.
Kind of reality, kind of putting a man to the job, like a man, just that human touch on it, I think is going to be different this time around. And it has created this level of excitement. How does he best go about maintaining that level of excitement to turn that into evangelization?
Yeah, no question. There's always, to use, the term that the Catholic Church probably doesn't use too much, there's going to be a bump. Right. People don't think about the Pope typically until the Pope dies, and then we have a new Pope. There is excitement. There will be a bump, perhaps in mass attendance. But this Pope, he's going to be Pope. He's 69 years old. Mm-hmm. He's going to be around for at least a decade, God willing, potentially longer. He could last as long as or longer than Pope John Paul II, who was the longest serving Pope. So we're going to get to know him for a very long time. And I think, the church moves slowly, and this Pope is now the representative of that church. So as things calm down, I think that's actually, I think, when we need to pay the most attention to see how he represents both himself as a person, but also he represents this church. And I think that might lend itself to some conversation about how he's going to connect to the legacy of Pope Francis, if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we go from having a Jesuit to having an Augustinian, first on both realms. What does that transition look like, and how does he keep things moving?
Yeah, so I'm sitting outside next to my dog, whose name is Augustine, and so he very explicitly said that he took the name Leo the 13th, and he said that this is in reference to Leo. He took the name Leo. Right. He's now Leo the 14th. It's directly connected to this guy who lived about 100 years ago, Leo the 13th. He was known for basically setting the standards for what we now understand to be Catholic social teaching, a kind of preferential treatment and care for the poor, the marginalized, and so on. Pope Francis obviously took the church in that direction as well. Mm-hmm. He definitely identifies with Francis's legacy. But I would also say that while Pope Leo the 13th, his predecessor, was known for Catholic social teaching, he was also known to be a kind of traditionalist. He took very seriously piety and devotion to the Virgin Mary. He actually called out the U.S. bishops at the time for committing what he called the heresy of Americanism, which was being too much open to assimilation to society and culture in the modern world. So I think he's trying to set a kind of balance, a kind of moderate position, at least at a start, in thinking about how he wants to present himself and to move this church forward. So I think he's trying to kind of thread a needle, at least initially. And then we're just going to have to sit and wait for a really long time because the Catholic Church moves slowly.
I want you to expound on that balance and that moderate position, because I think it's important for most of us when we hear headlines like, conservative or liberal as a moniker, we think of it through a political lens and not through a religious lens. How important is it for all of us to remember that which is religiously conservative doesn't always jive with what's politically conservative?
Yeah, I mean, this binary of liberal and conservative certainly makes sense in a U.S. context. It even makes sense, and we use these terms when we're talking about the Catholic Church and where people fall along a kind of ideological spectrum. But the Pope is a representative of the Catholic Church, and Catholic teachings, theologies, doctrines, dogmas, they don't fit neatly within American political categories. And sometimes that's the only vocabulary, that's the only mindset that we have as Americans to think about religion or think about the Catholic Church. And they're not always helpful because it does, I think, give too much credit to the American worldview, the U.S. worldview, and not enough credit to a more global understanding that the Catholic Church tries to uphold. And that's just I think we just sometimes have to just kind of check ourselves a little bit and have a little bit of humility when it comes to how we see the world and we all, I include myself in this, from a kind of limited perspective, and to give a little bit of grace to the fact that we don't have a complete understanding of where the Pope is coming from. And U.S. Catholics have disagreements with every Pope, and they're going to continue to. And that's, I think, normal, maybe even a little healthy. But it's going to be important for U.S. Catholics to recognize, their American perspectives and their Catholic perspectives and try and find a kind of balance the way that the Pope is.
Got just a couple minutes left with Dr. Michael Pasquier from LSU talking about Pope Leo the 14th. All right, let's talk about the path to the papacy here, because, he's from Chicago, but you can't exactly go back to his home parish. The route he took, is this, I don't want to say a normal route to get to be Pope, or is he unique?
Oh, yeah. You mentioned him being an Augustinian. He's part of the Augustinian order, the Order of St. Augustine. Yeah, so it's a religious order. You have two types of priests: diocesan priests or religious priests. Mm-hmm. It is in recent history, in the last several hundred years, it is unique for a priest to come from a religious order to become Pope. Augustinians are known for their missionary work and their teaching. The previous Pope was a Jesuit, the Order of the Society of Jesus. That too was unique. So now we have two popes back to back. who are representatives of a religious order. So he didn't grow up in Chicago as a priest. He did serve as bishop of a large archdiocese in Peru. So he does have that pastoral background. But he also brings, Catholics use this term charism. He has the charism of the Augustinians. And that, I think, it is already kind of manifesting itself in Pope Leo's description of the Catholic Church as a missionary church. He has described the church as a church that needs to go out into the world to meet the people, as opposed to waiting for the world to come to it, the church. And so he's already kind of demonstrating his Augustinian background through his very nascent and young papacy.
How active can we versus, contemplative, how active can we expect this Pope to be? I mean, are we going to be expecting headlines on a weekly basis? It's just a papal bull coming out every time we turn around.
We won't see papal bulls every week. Those things are pretty rare, but we will. I mean, I don't think he can help it. The 21st century, 2025, he's already got a Twitter account or an X account. He will be available to the public. I do have a sneaky suspicion, though, that he's going to learn from some of the lessons of Pope Francis's papacy. Pope Francis, I think many would say, was a little bit sloppy in his or just a little off the cuff, a little bit too often. And I think that there's a little more polish. We can expect a little more polish from this Pope, maybe even choreography. And I don't mean that in a bad way. You go to any religious organization, there's intention behind the actions and the words that they use. So while we will definitely see a very public Pope, he's young, and we can't help to be in this modern world that has all types of communication available to us. But I think it's going to be a little bit tighter when it comes to how he's representing himself and representing the church.
Yeah, Pope Francis would put the message out there and then let it get lost in translation and not stay ahead of the message. That was definitely I think this Pope Leo the 14th can learn from that, to be sure. In the meanwhile, I greatly appreciate the update and the information. He's Dr. Michael Pasquier from LSU. Always appreciate the time, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. We are running long here. We got Moon Griffon coming up next. Oh, man. Oh, damn. I forgot the punchline. I had the setup. I put the setup out there and I forgot the punchline. How often could we expect a papal bull? He's a pope from Chicago. He's all about the bulls. Damn it. I got wrapped up in the real conversation and forgot to be funny about it. Oh, snap. Printed this thing twice. My dumb ass. 821 at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Busy third hour to the show this morning. We're going to talk tourism in our next segment. We got Walt Leger in studio with us right now, though. We are joined by our very own Moon Griffon. You can catch him weekdays 9 to 11 right here on Talk 107.3 FM and statewide. He'll actually be in studio tomorrow. Moon, welcome back, brother. How are you?
Brian, I'm doing great, man. And I'll start with this. I did not watch LSU's first game Friday because it was too late for me. But pumped up, they beat the number one team 2 out of 3. So I think they sold up the super regional host unless they go to South Carolina and for some unknown reason lose 2 or 3 games. And I just don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen either. But I mean, stranger things have happened. And yeah, Look, you go to South Carolina, you take 2 out of 3, and you're a lock, as much of a lock as you can be for a national seed and a super regional here in the box.
I just think, if you don't get swept, but I like them win them all 3 games. 2 out of 3 makes it good. It's just fun to watch them, and they were tough all weekend. Arkansas is a good team. Arkansas just kept coming back, but the Tigers prove that they can hang with anybody, and so that they're in the right direction, baby. So
yes,
we're
they
looking
are.
forward to it.
Yeah, yes, they are. And I mean, aside from you had a 4-run inning yesterday, that was the worst of it. It just one bad inning was all we were looking at there. Pivoting over to week 5 of the legislative session gets underway this morning. The budget will be introduced in front of the Appropriations Committee. Representative Jack McFarland is going to join me tomorrow morning at 8:15 to talk about it. Your takeaways on the budget finally being talked about now?
Yeah, I got Scott McKay coming on. He put together a pretty good article talking about the budget. There's just not a whole lot of cuts in it, and I think you're gonna find that to be true when you talk to McFarland. A lot of the cuts that we're talking about last year were just federal money going away.
Right.
I don't know, Brian. It's something to ask him, and I hadn't talked to Jack, and I'm glad you got him on. But talk to him about Doge a little bit. I mean, we heard about kind of odd Doge. I didn't really like it. I didn't dislike it, but having 3 senators and 3 representatives and then 1 czar, to me, is not as strong as what the federal government is trying to do. So I just wonder if they're going to come up with real savings, because if they're talking about the budget and you had this Doge for a year, 6 months or whatever, did they find anything that we can go and look at and cut? Because it seems like anytime we start talking about cuts in Baton Rouge, they never happen, Brian. It's not real cuts. So they're going to tell you what they can't cut instead of what they can. So I'm just curious to see if those will play in the budget at all.
Well, I wonder how much of our reliance upon the federal government plays into that, though, because if that faucet gets turned off, or as that faucet is getting turned off, it's going to tighten things up a whole lot.
Well, if you look at the Medicaid cuts they're talking about, Brian, they're only talking about cutting fraud, waste, and abuse. They feel like there's a percentage of that in there. Now, if that's the kind of cuts we're talking about, then Medicaid is not going to be affected as much as they think it is. And I'm not convinced yet that the Republicans in Washington, D.C., with such a close margin, are going to really cut as much as people are talking about. I think they're going to cut what President Trump can take away. Yeah. And I know he has the power to take away some money. But I don't know what Congress will really cut. Because remember, they all up for re-election next year, Brian, and money gets them re-elected.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We got Moon Griffon on with us talking about that. We're talking right now about the budget. Moon, I would also put out there that a lot of what our state legislature wanted to do was contingent upon Constitutional Amendment number 2 passing. With Constitutional Amendment number 2 failing, I wonder how much of a wait and see they've got on this year's budget versus next.
Well, and also, Brian, let me add one other thing. The word we're getting is this fall they're going to try another shot at the amendments again. So how do you base the budget? You got to base it off of real numbers. You can't base it off of hopeful numbers.
Right.
So you're right. That's going to play in effect. But, the big thing's going to be tomorrow as we move to June 8th in the Senate. We got a bunch of these bills that's supposed to be, quote, insurance reform, that the House did their job, passed without amendment. We got to see what Gregg Miller and them are going to water down, kill, and what they actually going to pass to go to the full Senate. I'm really more the budget's important. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I'm real interested in what they do tomorrow in in June 8th. What will be watered down? What will be shot down? And what will they pass? You know, the governor's on record as saying, I will pass anything y'all send me. Well, it does matter what they send him. It does matter.
No, it absolutely does. And not just the overall what, but getting inside the guts of the individual bills as well, because this is an important part of the legislative session, Moon, in that a lot of folks are going to pivot their attention to HB1. A lot of folks are going to start paying attention to the budget because it is a fiscal session. Meanwhile, once all eyes are off of the insurance that we've been dealing with this whole time, once that's no longer under the microscope anymore as it has been, well, you know, if sunlight is the best disinfectant, pulling the cover back over something is where things can go wrong.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's the budget's always a big deal. I don't have to tell you. You live down there. You've been covering it as long as I have.
Mm-hmm.
The budget's always a big deal. Money that flows is always a big deal. So yeah, I find it interesting. It finally pops up right about the time we getting ready to deal with this insurance because you know, Jude has been a death knell for so long. Will it continue to be? But no, you're right, Brian. The budget becomes a very, very important tool for what they're doing. You know, Brian, we talked about this before. I really wish it's somebody, I don't remember who brought this up. Heck, it may have been you. Why don't we do the budget first, get all that over with, and let's go fight all the other stuff.
Yes.
And maybe that would be easier to do it that way because we do it the opposite. We do the budget right at the end.
Well, because and it was our conversation last week where I brought this up, Moon. I said it would be easier for us to control our budget if we determine the budget first and then figure out whatever it gets on the back end, rather than determining whatever it gets and then try to retrofit it into the budget. I feel like it's backwards.
Yeah, no. I think it's a very good thing to try something different doing that, and let's see if some of the fighting will probably go away. Because when you hold a budget over representatives and senators, they're sitting there going, well, I know what right vote to make, but I can't make that vote because it's going to affect the money that's coming to my projects. And you see what I'm saying? And all of a sudden you're going, well,
yes,
this ain't who I am. This ain't what I promised people I'm going to vote for, but I'm going to vote for this. So I'm going to get something cut. Why don't we do all that at the beginning? Then nobody's getting cut at that point.
Well, I know at the beginning of the month what my income's going to be, and I base my budget around that. I don't tally up all my potential bills and then try to figure out my income on the back end. It's just it's the putting the cart before the horse.
Yeah, in the real world, me and you, we kind of know what we're gonna make this year. We hope to make more. We hope to do better. If we do, thank the Lord. What we hope not to happen is we gotta buy another vehicle or get another note or you know that old car breaks down. You got a $4,000 repair bill. Those are the ones you try to run from. So. You know, just knowing kind of what you got each month to month is a good thing.
We got 1 minute left with Moon Griffon, host of the Moon Griffon Show, coming up half an hour from right now here on Talk 107.3 FM and statewide. I want to go back to the Jude for just a minute, Moon, because we have 40 bills as of right now that are in front of this particular committee. We're not going to bat 100. We're not going to bat 1,000. We're not going to bat 0. If you've looked at them, if you've looked at what's in front of them, put a percentage on what you think is actually going to get through.
You know, you're going to probably laugh at me. I think it's the third. Here's what I mean. Third going down, third going to be watered down, and the third's going to pass with some adjustments, which mean they'll still do basically the same thing. Some of them will never see the light of day, unfortunately. I just know that Cameron and them put this committee, normally this committee is built to beat back good legislation. And I still think this is what this committee's beat. I know, Brian, that is that, oh, you so negative. I'm telling you from watching this for a long time, this committee should have been a 5-2 Republican to Democrat, not a 4-3.
Right.
And I would have never put a trial lawyer when you know all these bills are going to come through. I wouldn't have put somebody that headed up insurance either. I'd have put somebody that's a conservative to head this committee. And none of that is in our favor.
He is Moon Griffon, coming up half an hour from right now. We always appreciate your time. We'll see you tomorrow.
God bless, Brian. See you in the morning.
Yep, we'll see you then. Here's news. Oh! Oh, it looked good. It looked good. I mean, even yesterday with the loss, it was still. You just don't like to see those losses at the end. No, I know. Exactly. I did not watch up close yesterday. I just checked in on it from time to time. So I did see the ejection. Quick on the trigger for sure.
Yeah. But you never know who's chirping and who's saying what. It could have been going on.
Had
all
that been
day.
going on the
Right.
whole game, and you just didn't heard it.
I was at my kid's soccer game the other day, and I made a very what I thought was quiet comment, but the ref heard it and kind of called me out, and I was like, "Whoa, we got rabbit ears today. I'm gonna be careful."
I think so it's parents' fault, but officials have gotten too sensitive, and it's to the detriment. Like
the dude,
the
guy blew 3 calls in a row at the beginning of the game, just kind of, and these are little kids. I really was just teasing.
Yeah.
And I was like, he blew a third one right in front of us, the parents, and I was like, whoa, this guy's blown 3 calls already. And he went, what? And I was like, sorry, man, I was just joking around.
What's amazing, so I've always coached my daughters in basketball.
Yeah.
And I build a good relationship with the referees because all the way up through 8th grade, they're here to teach. They're here to teach as much. Yes, that's also true. But they're here to teach as much as they're to officiate. So we had a game where we're in the huddle and I'm trying to tell my girls to stop reaching in. He's going to call it. If you reach in, he's going to call it. And we get out of the huddle and ball comes up the court. Girl goes to steal it, reaches in. He calls the reach in foul. And I said, he's going to call that. And the ref thought I said, you're going to call that?
And he got
boop, teased me up. Unbelievable.
Right.
But it's, you talk to him after the fact. He actually felt bad after the fact.
Right. So. My dad got tossed from a 13-year-old game that I was coaching with he was coaching my brother's team. I was the assistant. And we actually won the game because he got tossed.
Okay.
The parents went kind of nuts, and the official called the game off, and we were winning 13-12 or something at the time.
Oh wow!
So I think the guy thought he was jamming us up, but he actually handed us a victory. It's pretty great.
Awesome.
It's pretty great.
So Thursday is actually Tourism Day at the Capitol, right?
It is.
Okay.
It is. And I just got a text while I was sitting there. I'm going to pop in there.
What is that?
We just brought it. It's like an annual report or something. You don't want.
Oh,
that's gonna be overkill right now.
No, I got the sheet that they sent.
You probably want to study that tonight though in your spare time,
Absolutely. Well, I'm sitting there at the choir concert.
Right.
Yeah. End of the school year.
How old are your daughters?
I have one graduating high school this year, one in 7th grade, and my son's in 3rd.
I've got 8 and 6-year-old daughters, and just found out I'm having a 3rd daughter.
Well, congratulations.
October.
Okay.
3 girls. Yeah, thank you. Pretty pumped.
You should be.
We weren't expecting it, but
it's the best though.
It is awesome.
8, 6, and on the way.
Yep.
Oh, so you're gonna have that false little gap in tuition.
Yeah, I know.
Where
I think I got tuition due in my first half on May 15th.
Okay.
Email reminder. Always appreciate that.
Yeah, my oldest is going to Southern Miss in the fall.
Nice. Congrats.
Yes, and after 14 years of Catholic school,
you're probably getting a break.
It's going to be about the same.
Yeah.
But I just, I was like, Carrie, did you really have to flush Tops down the toilet?
Yeah, right. Well, it's nice to have. Tops is nice to have.
Yes.
They did not have it when I was coming out, but it came
How old
right after me. 46.
Okay.
I mean,
48. So
I literally came. I think it came the year after me.
Yes, it did. Because my sister, you were class of 97?
I was 96.
Okay, so yes, the year after you would have been
97 or 98 or. I
So
mean, my brother got it. He was
sister
99.
97. My sister was 97, and I think she was the last year without it. So
Yeah.
it would have been 98.
Yeah.
Where'd you go to school?
Jesuit.
Okay.
And then LSU.
Jesuit 96.
Was not a particularly strong year.
Kid I played basketball with all through grade school actually went because I was
Ryan Reboll.
Yes. Did we talk about that already?
No, but he was
okay.
He was probably the best player our year. I mean, Mike White was the year ahead of us, who is now coaching at Georgia. Mike was incredible, but he was 95. Reboll.
Ryan grew up on the North Shore with me.
Great
we played
guy.
basketball in Mandeville.
His dad, of course, coached a lot. I see his brother still. His brother's kids and my kids are around the same age. I see him at the ballpark.
Nice.
Blanking on his brother's name right now, though.
I'm not gonna remember it.
He was younger than us. But yeah, Ryan was a kick, man.
So, yeah, I was 95 at St. Paul's.
Nice. So like James Vetrano was in your 96, maybe.
No, he went to Mandeville.
Did
But
he? Okay.
yeah.
He was around. Ryan Hemelt.
Yes. Oh, he was 96 or 97.
Yeah,
He was 96.
He's one of my fraternity brothers.
Oh, cool.
Ryan Hemelt and Patrick Strange.
Yes, I remember Patrick very well.
And there were a couple of guys, good guys.
Hang tight. All right, time to dig in on your forecast real quick before we dig in on tourism. Here's what we got going. Had a nice little shower this morning before the sun came up. That, however, is in our past. We are looking at cloudy skies this morning. That's going to scale back to partly cloudy, and your high today going to get up to 78. Take that 78 and bank it because we're not going to see it again anytime soon. Tomorrow we're up to 87. Wednesday up to 88. Thursday we're going to be in the 90s for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Now, along with the heat means the rain's going away. There is no more than a 10% chance of rain on any day throughout the week this week. In fact, scrolling through until next week, it's not until next Thursday that we see it back in the picture. Right now, mostly cloudy, 64 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge. $8:37, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Coming up on Thursday is going to be Tourism Day at the Capitol, but we've been talking about tourism a lot lately, and want to welcome in studio from New Orleans & Company, Walt Leger. How are you, man?
I'm awesome. It's great to be with you in studio. Usually I'm on the phone.
I know,
so,
and I feel like you've been a co-host with everything y'all had going on. I mean, from the Super Bowl, from Taylor Swift to the Super Bowl, the Jazz Fest, it's been quite the gauntlet for y'all.
It's been a great run, and we just want to kind of keep building on that momentum and keep bringing people into the city, to the state, and keep it moving. So, yeah, it's been a great 6 months or so, and needed it, much needed, but it's been great to have people back in the city.
All right, bringing people into the city and into the state. I think that's where we're going to take the conversation this morning, is the partnership.
Yeah.
How does the partnership look? Teaming up New Orleans with Baton Rouge, teaming up New Orleans with the rest of Louisiana.
Well, so we certainly work with the Lieutenant Governor's office a lot, and they do a great job. The Office of Tourism is a great partner, but we, over the last couple of years, we've worked with Visit Baton Rouge and Visit Lafayette and Visit Lake Charles to form a partnership that we call Spirit of Louisiana, that brings in journalists, influencers, and travel buyers, and give them a whole South Louisiana experience. So they come into New Orleans, spend a couple of days, and then we move them through Baton Rouge, through Lafayette, on the Lake Charles, and really try to give them a real flavor for what South Louisiana's got to offer. It's an awesome partnership, and it's paying dividends, we think.
No, absolutely it is. Wait, I'm going to derail this real quick. Have you heard of Jason Josh yet?
I don't know.
Okay, all right, we'll get to them during the break. Okay, these two British guys.
They're moving
TikTok.
around. I just saw them. They're in Homa this morning. I think.
Yes. And as they
Sensation.
pronounce it,
Huma. Yeah. So they've been covering a lot of ground, and definitely kind of the demographic that we're talking about is, sharing their experiences broadly across the state. It's what people want, right? They don't want just one thing, particularly international visitors.
Yes.
They want to be able to see a variety of places, and we've got that in spades.
How do we partner it all together, though? Because while it is such a variety, it is New Orleans is the name that's known around the world, right?
Right.
With so much else to offer, though, how do you make that package look attractive to come to New Orleans, but leave the home base there?
It's just about intentionality, So I mean, that's why the partnership's important. So we kind of pull some resources, identify the appropriate journalist or influencer or third-party verifier who's going to go then write about the experience and spread it far and wide, and then we recruit them in. And so we actually, I think the last time we were able to do this, we had about 8 to 10 different journalists from a variety of different publications, and we kind of curate that experience, make sure that they get a touch of each of the communities, and then when they go back and write on it, that gets spread to tens of thousands, maybe sometimes millions of people. And it's an effective way to communicate about what we have to offer. So you got to really be intentional about it and curate it.
Okay, so you said 8 to 10. Is this at a time? Is this
Yeah,
like
at one
rolling?
time.
Where
Yeah, so we had like a little, mini bus. We got them into New Orleans. They stayed for a couple of days, and then we rolled them up through Baton Rouge. I think on that trip in particular, I wasn't able to connect with them in New Orleans. I came up here, and we all had breakfast together with Joe Kidder from Visit Baton Rouge, and with representatives of Lafayette and Lake Charles, and then myself. Kind of talked to them about our experiences, and then they moved on. But we've always got a team member from New Orleans and Company, from Visit Baton Rouge, from Lafayette, and from Lake Charles with them to kind of walk them through the experience. And so it's almost like a familiarization trip, like kind of just getting them familiar with it, getting them into specific places, and having them go write about that. And that's a strategy that's been great. It's been replicated by other partners we've got, like Travel South, which is a Southeast United States partnership where we go market internationally together. What's great about that is we know that if we get them to the South, that we're almost definitely going to get them to New Orleans, because as you said, we've got the reputation. People know who we are and what we're about, and they want to experience it.
How do we, being one of the 4 cities that's along I-10 here, how do we maintain that this is no slight to Shreveport or Monroe?
Well, we've got other partnerships where we're promoting opportunities for them, and this is just a matter of convenience as far as the I-10 corridor goes. There's some great things that we're working on supporting on the I-20 corridor. For example, there's opportunity for expansion of passenger rail from Dallas to Atlanta.
Okay,
that would actually connect through places like Ruston, Shreveport, Ruston,
let's go.
Monroe. And there's, a lot of support for that. We certainly support it because we think that connectivity is a good thing in general. So, no doubt the Lieutenant Governor's office does a great job, and we certainly talk about the rest of the state as well. But this is kind of a smaller partnership that's geared towards the I-10 corridor, and we think that it's particularly important as we lead up to FIFA World Cup in 26. Some of these other opportunities, because you've got Houston, you've got Dallas, you've got Miami, and Atlanta all hosting FIFA World Cup. It's going to be a month-long kind of celebration. We know that people are going to be looking for things to do between those games. So direct flights into New Orleans, and then other opportunities to visit the rest of the state. Obviously drive distance, Houston, Lake Charles. We want to just make sure that we're on people's radar, that they have an opportunity to connect to Louisiana, one of the most unique states anywhere.
We got Walt Leger in with us from New Orleans and Company, talking about tourism moving forward throughout South Louisiana. Let's talk about FIFA World Cup a little bit. What's that going to look like room nights wise? What's it going to look like travel wise? Like how, obviously it's not, everything's going to be looked under the Super Bowl lens, right?
Right.
But right now in Baton Rouge, we've got the bowlers in from,
It's massive.
It is,
Yeah.
but it's not all at once. It's this like 4 or 5 month boost of about 20% occupancy over the course of that time. What does FIFA World Cup look like?
So FIFA World Cup looks like a record-setting event as far as international travel goes for the United States. So, I mean, it's going to be, it's hard to wrap your head around, but they're thinking it could be between that and the Olympics, 40 to 50 million international visitors additionally to the United States, which is substantial and needed. For a long time, international visitation to the United States has led the way. That has not been the case as we've come out of COVID. Like, we've continued to struggle. The dollar has been relatively strong. It's encouraged people to go travel internationally in the United States. We've actually got more people leaving the United States and traveling around the world right now than we have coming in. That's a post-COVID phenomenon that we want to reverse. We obviously want to be bringing more people in. These opportunities that present themselves are good ones. The Trump administration, at the request of the U.S. Travel Association, which I'm really active in, has created a commission to try to streamline entry for visa processing and other potential barriers to international travel, so that we can capitalize on FIFA World Cup and on the Olympics in 2028, et cetera. So, it's a great rallying cry to try to upgrade technology, make sure that it's safe, seamless, and secure travel in and out of the country, and get as many people in here as possible to enjoy these events. And, huge economic impact to the whole country. And we think, certainly, though we're not a, focused city for FIFA or for the Olympics, we can still benefit from that international visitation, because there are only so many places that really rise to the level of interest for international visitors. So we're going to do everything we can to, communicate with people in their home countries, but also target them specifically with some ads that, encourage them at least at the last minute to jump on a flight and come to New Orleans for the weekend, or come over to South Louisiana and see what we've got to offer.
Got a couple minutes left here with Walt Leger talking about tourism that's still upcoming. We'll get to America's 250th in a minute, but I want to go back to that international traveler and courting the international traveler. What is it that effectively sells internationally to bring people here?
Well, I mean, the birthplace of jazz is critically important, right? I mean, that's something that resonates with people, not just because of jazz, but because of the innovation of that really being a classic American sort of innovation that has added, value to other music forms as well. The unique culture and history of Louisiana, often celebrated so much for being a gumbo and having so many things that have come into it to form it, I think is really attractive to people. And when people come to the United States as international visitors, they're often going to go to New York as a first trip. They're going to go to a place like, maybe Washington, D.C., or Miami as a first trip. But on a second trip, we think that New Orleans is at the top of that list.
Okay.
And so we compete for that business very, as aggressively as we can. And they stay longer and they spend more. And so our team is really interested in continuing to bolster that international visitation, and having a city and a state that really stands out matters.
Stay longer and spend more. I mean, that's
what it's all about.
That makes them worth courting, to be sure. I know. So it's been forever since I've worked in hotels, but bringing in tours from France and bringing in tours from Canada, the Cajun culture has a lot of appeal worldwide. Is it still selling like it always has?
So, I mean, Canada is our biggest international partner.
Yeah.
Mexico and then the UK are right after that. And so Germany, France, of course, are really important. And those, and they absolutely sell. I think there almost needs to be some sort of international flavor that makes it attractive to a variety of different groups. Australia is actually a really booming marketplace. I think a lot of similarities. There's a comfort level, shared language, and relative ease of access through places like Houston, Atlanta, and then flights into New Orleans. So we've been able to focus on that. And in the international travel space, still so much of this is driven by travel agents or travel professionals. Domestically, we've all gotten really comfortable planning our own trips, but internationally, people still rely on those pros.
Because there's a lot to be said for putting your level of trust in the internet versus putting your level of trust in someone you could talk to.
Right.
In the meanwhile, we got about a minute and a half left with Walt Leger from New Orleans and Company. All right. 250th anniversary of our country. What are we doing to package that?
Biggest aspect of it from our perspective, a couple of things. There's already a great exhibit at the Cabildo that the Lieutenant Governor kind of launched, and the State Museum launched in the last couple months to celebrate Lafayette and his contributions to the Revolutionary War, and particularly connections to Louisiana. So that's an ongoing thing. Big thing for us in New Orleans will be Sail 250. So Sail 250 is an opportunity to bring in tall ships from around the world that kind of, come in and spend time in specific places. So that's coming up. Plans will continue to roll out. The tall ships, though, as well as some military vessels from allies, will be coming in. They're only going to go to a few places: New Orleans, Norfolk, Virginia, I believe Boston, and New York. And so we're one of 4 cities that'll be able to participate in that. And that'll be a big deal for us. I think that'll be maybe one of our most significant contributions to that celebration of 250.
Okay.
Big thing for us is we're still kind of curating how we're going to promote and celebrate it. But Louisiana is really indispensable to our country for so many reasons.
Oh my goodness, yes.
And so we're gonna work on a real on a campaign that really celebrates that, leans into celebrating 250 years, but also reminding people of why, without the state of Louisiana, the 250th celebration of our country is probably not as likely as it would have been without us.
Well, I'm sure the Battle of Baton Rouge will play prominently in that as well.
I know Lafayette was definitely going to spend some time in Baton Rouge, because when he did sort of a victory tour after the Revolutionary War, he did spend some time here in Baton Rouge and also in New Orleans. And so kind of trying to recreate that and celebrate it.
Very cool stuff. All right. Well, I'm already looking forward to the follow-up, because Sales 250 has me super intrigued. But in the meanwhile, we're just out of time for this segment.
Well, always great to be with you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Always. He is Walt Leger with New Orleans and Company. All right. We got to take one more break. When we come back from that break, we'll step outside of East Baton Rouge Parish, a little segment we call The Outside In. We'll check on headlines from the surrounding area. That's coming up next right here on Talk 107.3 FM. There it is. Cool. I was off by a couple seconds. That was on me.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. We'll keep in touch. Yeah, we'll happy to come back on and do more on detail on Sale 250, but it's coming together. It's gonna be fun. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Good to meet you. My boy knew Ryan Rebo like that. I played basketball with him when I was 9 to 12 years old.
Wow.
Maybe all the way up to 14. Yeah, after freshman year, he transferred over to Jesuit. So 14, I guess.
Cool connection, yeah.
Oh.
Who are the two British guys? I haven't seen that.
Jason Josh?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
shit.
dude, they're in Homer right now.
I mean, I heard
They're in Huma.
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 Instagram, Facebook.
Well, they're all over. Yeah. They're
TikTok, and they're on all the social media outlets. Yes.
That's how my friend John pronounces Homer. Huma.
We had a friend that.
Josh and Hayes.
Maybe.
Pistoletto. Oh, here we go.
Yeah, they just went to Billy's, right?
Yeah. Duke's Bayeux.
We need to go find
Love it.
Is Duke Bayou in Arnoldville.
Arnoldville. Shouldn't they be at the Big Cup?
On Dieville. You what?
The Big Cup or Little Cup, whatever it is.
They went there too.
My daughter's talking about wanting to go there to play the concert.
What concert?
Whatever the country singer's name is in Lafayette.
Luke Bryan? Luke Bryan's going to Lafayette. Yeah. Duke's Bayeux. All right, who has seen Jason Josh or Josh and Jace? I keep DMing them on TikTok, hoping they'll respond.
Dude, yeah. You trying to get them on the show?
Yeah, I want to get them on the show.
Yeah, dude.
I have no clue.
I never really thought about it.
that. Like, why are
I
two
never
dudes
really-
traveling around from England together?
It's a bro trip. Oh.
Bro expedition? That's what it seems like. Looking for Buddha.
Whoa.
Just because they're British. I don't think that's the right question. Oh, my goodness gracious. All right. 856 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Of course, I just bring up Josh and Jace when Walt Leger is in, and that's where the conversation is going to go during the break, right? That's it. John, have you seen them?
Yes.
Okay,
They're down in my hometown.
In Huma. They're in Huma today.
Yeah.
Yeah. They didn't like Shreveport.
Oh,
I know.
come on.
And they did like West Monroe. They went on the Robertsons podcast.
Yeah, I saw that.
But like they're going to all these places. It's like get to Baton Rouge, get to New Orleans. They're going to all these off the map. Well, I shouldn't say off the map, but like not your everyday stops. Like they made like 3 stops in Arnoldville. Like, what are you?
Yeah.
I'm sure the Arnoldville CVB, if such a thing exists, is appreciative. And I will also say this. When they went to Arnoldville, they went to a place called Du Bayou. All right.
Okay.
And du is the French word for two, right?
Right.
Deux.
Yep.
They're from England. France is not that far away. I know we have mispronunciations of a lot. I know we got a lot of words that are hard to pronounce around here, right? But the number 2 in France, this one
right
feels
there.
pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah.
It's
man.
not Dukes. It's not Dukes by Ukes. It's just deux. Deux. Un, deux, trois. Not un, Dukes, trois.
There you go.
Oh.
It's good stuff,
They're
right?
But they're catching everybody. They're wildfire bottled right now. They are lightning in a bottle right now.
Let them come to Baton Rouge, man.
Absolutely,
Hopefully we can
let's
scoop them
go.
up, get them in here, right?
I will take them around, but you know where we're going first?
Where?
Rocco's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Right?
That'd be fantastic.
I know.
Yes.
I know. It's Rocco's, and you know where we're going second?
Where's that?
Chicken Shack.
Ooh.
They haven't lived yet.
Man.
You're realizing now they haven't lived yet.
I know. I'm so bummed I'm not in Homer right now. Dude.
In Huma.
God, I'd love to.
I want to know where they're going in Huma.
Where are you going? Dude.
Do we have time for the outside in?
Of course.
All right.
Let's hit it.
Starting off in Livingston Parish, a second arrest has been made after one person was shot and killed at the Doyle High School baseball park off McLean Road Friday night. Officials say 23-year-old Evan Lynch was shot in the chest at at the park. He was killed. Both Brandon Swallow and Caleb Rowley have been arrested in what is being described as a premeditated attack. Heading over to Tangipahoa Parish, 44-year-old Travis Humphrey was arrested after a pursuit that began in Metairie and ended on I-55 near Ponchatoula. It resulted in a deputy firing a shot at the suspect, according to the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office. Really, if you have a chance, go to WPRZ.com to read this full story. This guy, Humphrey, was not going down without a fight. It was a battle, let's just say. Closing out in St. Tammany Parish, CCA of Louisiana has spent the last 2 weeks working on an artificial reef in Lake Pontchartrain. The Goose Point Reef is made up primarily of roughly 4,000 tons of recycled concrete from the I-12 widening project. It is the 7th artificial reef to be built in the lake. 58 reefs have been built statewide. That's going to do it for us. Moon Griffon is coming up next. Don't forget tomorrow morning on the show, State Representative Jack McFarland. He is the author of HB1. That would be our budget. He'll be on to talk about it, among a number of other great topics. Anna Johnson from West Baton Rouge Chamber on tomorrow as well. God damn it. So I owe P.F. Chang's a live read now. I was supposed to do the P.F. Chang's, and here's the thing, though. I come back in from break talking about going to Rocco's. I can't talk about P.F. Chang's immediately afterwards, right? I painted myself in a corner.
Man.
Idiot. All right, Facebook, we got our Monday meeting, so we will see y'all mañana.